Did you seriously just get crumbs all on my bed?
I got this crumb.
And this one. You just got crumbs all.
And this one. That's it. That's all.
Whatever. Man, this is one glitchy, sad little camera right now. I swear my camera on my Dell was so much better than this. This is like horrible. All right, make sure y'all can hear me. Say something so I know you hear me.
Oh, I'm in the shop.
Remember, if you're on your Chromebook, you're not going to be able to comment because our school has that shut down. If you want to be able to comment and ask me questions, you have to be on your cell phone or on your own home computer. All right, I need to see people comment. I need to know if y'all can hear me. Oh, I can hear. Thank you, Nick. All right, I'll wait just a few more minutes so some other people can get on and whatnot. Excuse me. I'm writing a few things down.
Oh, Danny.
Hey, sweetie. I'm just writing stuff down, waiting for people to get on. Trying to avoid having a super bad headache.
You must.
Oh, go away. Go away. Go away, dog. No, go away. What's that?
That would be Grant and Haley, and I'm able to comprehend the vocal noises that you are currently creating. That's good. That's good. Shriman Kalanika Duru! Come on down.
That's gonna be on YouTube now. Forever and ever.
Everything is on YouTube forever and ever. All right. Well, we've got a few participants. Those that aren't able to get on will maybe they can watch it later or whatever. I will post this on Classroom, so if you need to get off at any point in time, you can get back to it later. Okay? All right, so just to kind of start from somewhere. Okay, keep in mind, the whole purpose of this unit of Biochem is how are you a living, breathing organism? What makes you be able to do that, right? And that's going to come down to the molecules that make you you. So this whole unit, Biochem, is about those things. We're only talking about a few of them right now because then we'll take the test, then we'll talk about the rest of them later. Again, the reality is we're just scratching the surface. Like, you want more info? Take AP Dual Bio. You want more info? Take your cell biology and everything later on in college, okay? So we're going with just the basic first two, right? The first two molecules that make you, carbs and lipids. Those molecules have something to do with life. They function to provide you life in some form or another. They're giving you energy. They are you. They are your structures. Okay. So let's kind of look at that. The best thing you can do, guys, when it comes to studying for any test, whether it's mine, math, whatever, is take the notes you've taken, right? But reorganize them in some kind of manner that makes, a little bit more sense sometimes. Honestly, it's just the rewriting of your notes that is the helpful part. Putting it in a chart form doesn't have to happen. It just, I like charts. So first thing I did is I did this. No. Okay. All right. I made a chart for carbs and lipids. And then on the side, I put structure, monomer, function, and examples. So the first thing I do is be like, okay, what's a carb of what's the structure of a carb? Okay. Y'all should know that. Structures of carbs at this level are always going to be in two forms, hexagon or pentagon. Ciao. Now, I know I'm just drawing a hexagon and pentagon because, yes, at this level, that's all I really need you to know. But what is that? It's a bunch of carbons. Carbon, 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 carbon. Okay? It's carbons. Why? Because this is organic. The term organic refers to any kind of molecule that has carbon in it. A carb is just that. Wait a second. I think it has the name carbon in it. Okay? So, structure is always going to be a hexagon or pentagon. If you recognize that, then you're like, hey, that's a carbon or a carbohydrate. Check. Good deal. Next would be, what's the monomer that builds up a carbohydrate? Well, that's going to be, again, a shape of a hexagon or a pentagon. Okay. But its name is a monosaccharide. Guys, prefix, suffix are going to help you. Mono, one, saccha, sugar, one sugar. One individual hexagon or one individual pentagon will begin to build a carbohydrate. Okay. Yes, we call this individual thing a carbohydrate. Yeah, for sure. But one of them is just a monomer that when they combine together will form a larger thing known as a polymer, right? A larger carbohydrate. And how does that form? We'll look at it again. It's called dehydration synthesis. All right, so the monomer is a monosaccharide because it's one sugar. One of these, bond, 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 snap together. Now you've got your polymer of carbohydrate. The purpose of carbohydrates, the main function is energy, but very specifically short-term energy. You got to make sure you've got that. It's short-term. This is why you carb load right before a meet, a game, a track, what, blah, 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 blah. Short-term, fast and easy. If, for any reason, you've overloaded your system with sugar, which happens because you're teenagers and you eat ice cream for breakfast. Okay? I just called out Gracie. Okay? So the energy, let's say you've taken in all those carbs, right? Your body's going to use it, of course. But then if all of a sudden you decide to sit and do nothing, then that sugar has to go somewhere because your body cannot keep sugar in its bloodstream. That's going to lead to hyperglycemia, and too often, if that happens, eventually that can be diabetes. Okay. So what does your body do? It's going to take that carbohydrate out of your blood and stuff it into the closet, right? Right? You don't want a mess in your house. What do? You go to the closet. Well, the closet in your body is the liver. And it stuffs the carbohydrate into the liver in case we need it later. Because you don't want to get rid of it, right? We need it just in case, right? And those are going to be some of the examples that carbohydrates take on. Like what kind of shapes, what kind of forms inside of living things does it take? So first would be things like starch. A starch would be an example of a carbohydrate. That's going to be an apple, right? You eat into an apple, that's a starch. It's sugar. Yeah, you're eating sugar when you're eating an apple. Oh, no. Okay. It's any plant product. You are eating a carbohydrate in the form of a starch because that's how a plant stores it. Another form would be in a plant cell wall. Plants have to take sugar to build themselves. And they take it and build it in a form called cellulose. That's what's in their cell wall. Cellulose cell wall. Okay. No way apples have sugar. Yeah way. Grant.
Oh.
Okay. So cellulose itself, right? Cell wall. That's just another form of a carb that plants will use. But then your liver takes it in the form of glycogen. So when you've taken in too much sugar in your blood's going to now stuff it into the hallway closet, right? Your liver in this form called glycogen. And that's only for animals. Okay. We store it there if we have to, in case we need to pull it out later. Because, guys, when we're describing, I don't know if Daddy needs that. I don't really care. Okay. Describing this whole process, guys, each one of these boxes represents a monomer. So this is, right, a pentagon, a pentagon, a pentagon, okay? These are each monomers, sugar, sugar, sugar. And when they've been bonded together, they become a polymer. So this polymer could be starch. This polymer could be cellulose. You don't know. It's just an example. But when they get combined, we can also break them. We can go right in there. Oops, let me just use this. We can go right in there and go, whoop, whoop. I'm doing this upside down, just so you know, so that's really amazing. Whoop. Okay. You can go back in and break those monomers right back up. And that's what your body does. Okay. If you need that glycogen you just stored, we're going to take it back out, chop it back up into monomers, put it back into your bloodstream, and now you've got energy. This is how you still breathe and survive, despite the fact that you didn't eat dinner. Oh, because you have a storage of sugar in your liver. Don't worry. Don't fret. It's there. You have plenty of energy. Okay. And then, of course, if it uses all of it, then we have other resources to go for. Okay, Shriman, but how do they put the sugar in the apple? Magic. Okay. All right, so that's a carb. What about the other biological molecule we were talking about, which is lipids? Okay, so a lipid is just another one, but it's unique, just like a carb is, right? A carb is this pentagon and hexagon, and we use it for energy, for short-term energy. Well, lipid has its own shape, and it's going to have its own main functions and stuff. So there are two ways you can recognize, or two components, right? So first, squiggles, that's your lipids, little squiggles. Okay, well, let's get more specific. Again, it's carbons. Carbon, 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 carbon. Those little squiggles are fatty acids. Now, let me draw it a little bit better for you. Just a little bit, because I can't actually draw. You first have one. Whoop, well, oh, it's not. Oh, I think my paper's still a little wet, so it doesn't want to dry or write. And I can hear children out in the living room fighting. It's awesome. Okay, so the squiggles, fatty acid, fatty acid. Ding, ding, ding. The only difference is are there double lines? These lines actually represent, there isn't any double lines, then we call that saturated. If there is a double line, we call that unsaturated. Guys, it's just like saying a pentagon for a carb or a hexagon for a carb. You have two different versions. We have two different versions of a lipid, saturated or unsaturated. That's all that is. So either look for a double bond or not. Unsaturated ones are the ones, and here's how you can kind of think of it. What really happens when there's an unsaturated bond, it causes the lipid to bend like this. Let me go to another page. Oh, nope. I'm just going to draw on this page. There's something in Spanish.
Let me read it.
Let's skip that. Okay. Here's what happens. when a fatty acid is going about and all of a sudden it comes across a double bond, it causes it to bend. That double bond does. Guys, unsaturated fats are actually kind of a healthier fat because we can break them down easier. Well, if you look at this double bond and how it causes a bend, it already looks like it's breaking. So we just have to go in and go and break it. That's why unsaturated fats are healthier for you. They come from plants. They're oils. They're not fats like lard and stuff because that double bond aids in the breakdown of it. All right, so just think of that. A double bond is good for us. Okay, so fatty acids have a basic structure, that little ear. Oh, I don't know where my page went.
Wait, do you have a trick for like remembering like which one's unsaturated and which one's saturated, like double or not double?
Gracie's asking if there's a trick on like how to remember if it's doubled or not doubled, like as far as the name. I don't really have one off the top of my head, like a unique way to remember unsaturated means double. Here's one thing you can say. When you see a double bond, right, it causes that bend. So it's like the bond is becoming undone, like unsaturated, undone, right? Double bond, undone for unsaturated, if it helps. Okay, so a structure of a lipid looks like that. What's its basic monomer? Well, it doesn't really have a monomer because it's actually two things, fatty acid and glycerol. Okay, fatty acid and glycerol. It's actually two things. We can stress over that so much. I'm not going to make it a complete, a fill in the blank for that. I'm not too worried about that monomer. The function, though, it is also energy, but this time it's long-term. That's one of its main functions, energy for long-term storage. It's not its only function, okay? Yes, it's long-term, but here's its, immediate, oh my gosh, lipids are everything, right? Is there a Quizlet or something we can study?
Oh,
Gracie has one. There's a quizzes that I make that's on your task sheet, okay? For the energy, yes, but lipids also make up your cell membrane. They are your cell membrane because here is an example. This guy, that little circle with the squiggles, that's a phosphate with fatty acids attached to it. That is a phospholipid. All right, let me kind of draw a big picture of him. Your phospholipid is your cell membrane. Okay, so here's a phospholipid. This phospholipid has, oops, let me make that a little bit. This phospholipid has a saturated tail and an unsaturated tail because they can do that. And then it has this head. A circle will always help represent a phosphate. That will come into play again later when we talk about DNA. So this phospholipid, right, you can tell why it's called a phospho and a lipid. This is your cell membrane. If I were to zoom in on your cell membrane, I would see millions and millions of these little phospholipids making it up. So if I zoomed in on your cell membrane, whoop, that's what I would see. Phospholipids, phospholipids. So this is really the most important thing about it, okay? This thing. Amy also made one, I think. Okay, good deal. All right, now let me point something out about the phospholipid. That phosphate group has a negative charge to it. And anything that has a charge to it acts polar. So that means that the head, and yes, the phosphate is called a head, is polar. And if it's polar, then that means that it will mix with things that are polar. And the number one thing we've talked about so far that's polar is water. So that head is what we would call hydrophilic. Prefix, suffix come in handy because since the head has a charge and it's polar because it has a charge, then hydrophilic, it loves water. That means this part can come in contact with the water inside your body and inside of your cells because you know what? Water's everywhere. Okay? Now, what does that mean about the tail? The tail region, recognizing that it zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. First of all, noticing that it zigzags should tell you that it's some kind of lipid. And knowing what examples are lipids, such as fats and oils, then that means it's nonpolar. And nonpolar things like oil don't like water. They can't mix with water. You can't force it to mix with water. Means that it's hydrophobic. So the head is polar, and because of that, it loves water. The tail region are nonpolar, therefore it fears water. All right? Again, basic prefix, suffix, and those are never going to disappear, guys. So this is a perfect example of a lipid inside your body and how it helps right now. Like it is there helping from your cell membrane. Okay, so your carbs versus your lipids, no structure, monomer, basic function, and some examples. All right, just another way to reorganize the information we've already gone through. Next would be going through water and bonds. First, I'll stop for just a quick sec. Anyone have questions on any of that stuff? Carbs, lipids, molecules, carbs, lipids, molecules, carbs, lipids, molecules. Nope. Good. Awesome. Don't.
No, I'm looking at
a
question.
You can look at it on the video.
But I might have a question.
You're safe because Jessica has a question. Are all lipids are nonpolar? Yes. All lipids are nonpolar.
What's the monomer?
Some lipids, like the phospholipid, can have attachments on them that make pieces of them be polar, but that's just unique with this phospholipid. But the lipid component of a phospholipid is nonpolar always.
What's the monomer of a lipid?
The monomer of a lipid, they don't really have a monomer because monomer means one piece. Lipids have two pieces, so they don't really have a monomer. They have building blocks that make them up called a fatty acid. That's the and can come in the form saturated or unsaturated. And then another piece called glycerol, which is just an additional molecule. All right, let's look at water and bonds real quick. When it comes to water, obviously, number one thing, polar. How does that happen? Because of its shape in its structure due to its charging. Dead frog, Mickey Mouse. These charges on the hydrogen and the charge on that oxygen happen because electrons are being pulled more towards that oxygen and farther away from their hydrogens, which they originally were part of. But because of the covalent bonds inside of the molecule between hydrogen and oxygen, covalent is sharing, the hydrogen wants to share his electron. So is this one. Why? Because he wants to make oxygen happy. Oxygen is more than happy. But because oxygen is such a huge atom, he grabs that electron and pulls it further towards him, causing the oxygen to have more negative towards it. Because those electrons have a negative charge, which then leaves the hydrogens to have more of a positive because they only have a proton left. And the electron seems to be running farther and farther away from them. So what you have is an uneven charge. You have some positive, you have some negative, and it's not the same. So this is what polar is, when something has an uneven charge. Lipids do not have an uneven charge. They're even all the way across. Those carbons are perfectly happy. So it's nonpolar. So because water is polar, it allows for all of those. Because water is polar, it can hydrogen bond with itself through a process called cohesion. Also, because of hydrogen bonding, it can adhere to other things that are polar, like the toothpick in your toothpick lab, right? You moved the toothpick and the water droplet around because that water was attached and attracted to that toothpick, which is adhesion. Both of these help with water crawling up a plant, capillary action. Because as the water crawls, it pulls. As the water's touching and moving up a plant, it adheres. And then because of cohesion and hydrogen bonds, surface tension on the top of a water, right? So you've got a water surface and you've got something, like a bug or something that crawls on it. That's due to surface tension, or my pen is not wanting to write. Or a rain droplet. A droplet of water keeps its shape because of the surface tension. And what does this all come down to? Because water is polar. Ultimately, this is like its biggest point. Because it has these different charges, it can hydrogen bond. And because it can hydrogen bond, it can do all of those. Okay? Cohesion is water to water. Because the word co means with or together. So that is water working together. Adhesion is water to something else. So this is the water on your windshield. This is the water on a straw. All right. There are 3 kinds of bonds we talked about: ionic, covalent, and hydrogen. So covalent is sharing. Sharing is caring. So covalent is happening within a water molecule. These hydrogens are sharing. A hydrogen bond happens between water molecules. So 2 water molecules will hydrogen bond with each other. Remember, this is the weakest of the bonds. This can be broken, but because there's so many in water, it almost makes water super, super strong. So covalent is within, hydrogen is between water molecules. And then you have something known as ionic. The ionic is the weird one. Oh. You go to my next page. Nope. Yes. Okay. Ionic is the giving up of an electron or the accepting of an electron. This is different than covalent. Covalent, they actually keep their electron on their own valence shell. They just share it with the other atom. So a hydrogen still is holding on to his electron. He's just kind of letting oxygen hold it too. That's a covalent. In an ionic situation, an element lets go of its electron. It throws it. Yeet! Okay? Gracie in this moment is saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe my mom just..."
That was great.
Shrimon just did too. Okay. Anyway, so in an ionic, they throw them away. They catch them. So here's an example, right? The example we commonly use, because ionic things are salts. So let's use table salt. Sodium and chlorine. Sodium has 1 electron on its valence shell. Chlorine has 7. They need to have 8 to be happy. So chlorine can gain 1 and be happy. What this also means is sodium can lose 1 and go back down to his lower valence shell, which has 8. His lower energy level has 8. So if he gets rid of that 1, then he's back to being happy. So he wants to. So sodium goes, rip, throws it over. Sodium has now technically lost an electron. And all of your atoms, guys, the atomic number is how many protons they have. But all atoms have the same number of electrons. So if you have 11 sodium protons, then you should have 11 electrons. But if sodium just gave up an electron, he technically, so he should have 11 protons and 11 electrons. If he just gave up an electron, then that leaves him technically one more proton. That's why it becomes a positive charge. He literally has more protons than he does any electrons. Chlorine, on the other hand, chlorine is 17. So chlorine started with 17 protons and 17 electrons. Down here, he gains one more, so now he has 17 protons and 18 electrons. So now chlorine has gained an extra electron, making it more negative. And inside their bond is ionic. Not sharing because sodium doesn't have it anymore. Threw it over to chlorine. Chlorine now has it, and what we call it is an ionic bond. So sodium has a little bit positive, chlorine has a little bit negative, and when you have two charges like this, it's polar. Guys, this is why salt can dissolve in water, because it's polar. Water can easily break them up. Now, understand, ions get a name based on what kind of charge they get. So when sodium gave up and made himself more positive, and when chlorine received and made himself more negative, they have pluses are called cations, negatives are anions. Remember your little way to keep it in mind. Plusy cats, negative annies. Take it or leave it. You come up with something better, good for you. Okay, plusy cats, negative annies. Only when an ion is formed do they get those special names, cation and anion. Okay. And then kind of last thing that I have on mine to discuss would be pH, real quick. And then, of course, any questions y'all have, y'all just ask away. Okay, so your pH scale, 0 to 14 with 7 in the middle. When you write this, because right here, guys, you should be able to write this from memory. How do you know which acid, where acids and bases are? A comes before B in the alphabet, just like this pH scale. Acids are on this side, bases are on this side. Now, the other part I'd want you to know is what, I just lost my train of thought. What ions help measure them? So the two ions are based on water. Water is broken up into hydrogen and hydroxide. So a hydrogen oxygen makes a hydroxide. So these two ions, and see if you can guess, right? Because it has a plus, it's a what? Gracie? Huh? It has a plus, so it's called a, she gonna fail. That's a cation.
Oh, I don't know what you were asking. Like some kind of like fun acronym or something. I was like, you taught us.
And because it's a negative, it's an
Anion.
Oh, yay. She got a 50 now, guys. All right. Okay, so you need to know which an acid or a base, which one has what, like more of it. We measure acids by a high concentration of hydrogens. So if it helps at all, think acids are amazing. Amazing. Because acids are hydrogens. Okay. And then that means hydroxides are the base. So if you remember one, you should remember the other ones. But if you need it, acids are amazing. Bases are boring. Help? Not help? Either that or you can just memorize it. Okay? Whatever you need, there it is, right? The other word you sometimes see bases called is alkaline. You've probably run across this word before. That's what your AA batteries and AAA batteries are. If you look at them, they're called alkaline batteries because they're made with a base. Not all batteries are. Some batteries are made with acids, such as your car battery. It has sulfuric acid in it, not alkaline. So it's just another way to identify a base. We call it alkaline. What's in the middle?
Oh,
Perfect 7?
neutral.
Neutral. Good job, Grace. That's a word. What is in the middle?
Distilled water.
Distilled water. It took her a little bit. I think we're up to a 52 for her.
I learned this before.
Okay. Anyways, pH scale, that's really as much. It may be one of these things. I did this in class, right? If I gave you a pH of 2 and a pH of 9. Okay, pH of 2 and pH of 9. A basic question would be something like, which pH has a higher concentration of hydroxide? pH of 9, right? Because it's a base. Hydroxides are bases. Which one is more acidic? pH of 2. All right. And let me ask that exact same question, just a little bit different. I just said which one's more acidic? pH of 2. Which one is the least alkaline? pH of 2. So I just said that same question, just a little bit different. All right, so on pH questions, slow down and draw this. Write this out. Write the amazing and boring.
And alkaline.
Okay. And just write this out so that you have something to reference while you're answering pH questions. Okay. Is there anything that I have kind of skipped that you need me to look at or cover again? I'm just waiting to see if anybody has questions. That is me moving my leg. The camera was going all crazy because I was shaking my leg.
Yeah.
Micro and macromolecules. So all we are looking at are macro. Like a carbohydrate is a macro. A lipid is a macro. It's just another way to call it a polymer. Okay. We use the word macro because lipids aren't polymers. So macromolecule really explains all of them. So macro is just a large molecule. Gracie's over here doodling. She ain't even paying attention.
I am paying attention. I just doodle while I pay attention.
That's why she fails.
I am not failing, actually. Do you know what I'm doodling? I'm doodling the SpongeBob houses.
This is what my daughter does during her study session. SpongeBob. Structure of carb. That is seriously as far as she freaking got. The structure of a carb, and she drew a pentagon. She didn't even draw a hexagon. Lazy, lazy.
Well, because then I realized notes wouldn't help me pay attention. And then
She did. Look at that. She didn't even finish the word organic.
No, because I had to pay attention because you were going fast.
Wow. There looks to be a question mark. Fatty acid monomer.
I needed to ask you about that, but I was afraid I was going to forget it. But I already asked you.
You already asked it. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Keaton says F- for you.
Hey, I paid more attention when I was doing the scribbles than I was taking the notes.
Why does Gracie sit so weird?
Whatever do you mean?
That's funny. I don't know, because I don't. She's weird.
Most people can be so confused.
Okay. All right. What else do y'all see on, test review or anything that I could answer? Right. We started. That is one thing I did not mention. Oh, I need to mention this word. Okay. Let me kind of draw this out real quick. Oh, yes. It's very beautiful, Gracie.
Yeah. Wait, does Squidward have a little chimney on the side of his house?
Okay.
Or is it just SpongeBob?
I don't remember that much about SpongeBob. She just asked me if Squidward has a chimney on his side of the house.
Because I know SpongeBob does.
I can comment now. Yay, Nico. Jessica said no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. All right, one thing I forgot to go ahead and mention. Keaton also said no. All right, we have some SpongeBob fans in here. All right, one thing I forgot to mention is the actual process that builds your macromolecules, right? So first of all, be able to look at these structures and say what they are. Because they are a hexagon, they are a
Carbohydrate.
Carbohydrate. Yay, Keaton. F plus. Okay. All right, so carbohydrate. Now, I added these OHs on there. You don't have to have this memorized by any means, but I'm just showing you what happens. So these two carbs, these two monosaccharides, need to bond together to build your polysaccharide, to begin doing that. So here's what happens. Two H's and an O are going to be pulled out. Ding.
And go where?
Okay. And they get pulled out as, oh gosh, you can't even read that.
Oh.
They get pulled out as water. Now, Gracie just said they get pulled out and they go where? Guys, internal structure of your cell and external structure of your cell is water.
Okay.
Water is everywhere. So this is being broken, but here's the other thing. As soon as this water gets moved out, that water is going to be used in another chemical reaction somewhere else. It doesn't just sit there and build up and all of a sudden you're bloated. That's not what that is, okay? This water will be used somewhere else immediately, okay? Chemical reactions everywhere. So water gets pulled out, and here's what it happens. Here's what it forms. You still got your hexagons, you still got your carbs, but now they're bonded. So when you remove water to build or bond two monomers together, because that's what these are, monomers, to build a polymer, this is called, see if y'all remember, see if you can say it before I show you, dehydration synthesis, right? Oh, Nico had it right. He was typing it. Okay. Dehydration, right? Because you're losing water. Ding, ding, ding. Synthesis because, well, SpongeBob, synthesize me up some grub to make. So you made a bond by removing water. That's what we call this. The other term I introduced you to, just because depending on who writes the STAR test or something, the other word associated with this can be called polymer. Okay, it's just the building of a polymer. This one's just actually telling you the chemistry that's happening. All right, polymerization would just say monomers, bond, polymer, built, and wouldn't describe the whole water idea. Nico said the dehydration synthesis, does it only occur in carbs? No, dehydration synthesis happens for the making of all molecules, people. All your biological molecules in your body, and we've only talked about two of them. Every single one of them goes through this. To make up your sugar, to make up your fat, to make up the proteins, to make up your muscles, to make up your DNA, to make your hair, to make your skin. Everything in your body, when it's being built, goes through dehydration synthesis. Water being torn out, used somewhere else so bonds can be made for everything. Okay, this is the creation of proteins that are going to be for the lovely hormones that are making you all kinds of crazy right now, right? Testosterone and estrogen. Woohoo! Okay, those are being made and released like crazy, right? Because of dehydration synthesis. Okay. I will not repeat what Gracie just said, okay? Because that was not quite appropriate. Dehydration everywhere. The creation of your proteins, the enzymes in your mouth, the proteins in your mouth that help break down food. That's dehydration synthesis, right? Every molecule, every molecule. All right. I'm kind of going in my mind, going from beginning to end. Atoms, hydrogen bonds, covalent, ionic. Dehydration synthesis. We talked about water, properties of water, bases, bonds, carbs, lipids, structure, function, examples. I think that's it. But I told you it takes usually about an hour to get a good review in, but we still have 15 minutes. So we can sit here and stare at each other, or if you have questions, I'll answer them.
Now you have to give them a second.
Yes, I know. I will give them a second. What is the difference between hydrophobic and hydrophilic? Okay, so this comes down to knowing your prefix suffix. Phobic, so first word, hydro. Hydro literally means water. And the word phobic. If you have a phobia, then that means you fear something. So hydrophobic is fearing of water. That's oil. Hydrophobic molecules cannot come in contact with water. And then hydrophilic loves water. So that would be like the phospholipids. The head loves water. The tail hates water. This would also be things like salt. Salt is hydrophilic. It will mix with water. It likes water. But oil will not. Fat will not. Right? So your head and tail, the head has a charge, so we call that philic. The tails are fat, so those would be phobic. Next water, one is the scaredy cat. Shriman Kalanakaduru says. Okay, what ails? Ooh, this pen goes really good. This is like spinning the bottle.
There's only 2 of us.
Give me a kiss, Gracie. For acids, is it 0 to 6.9 or 0 to 7 for the bases? It's one of those things, Keaton, when people are like, it's 7's actually neutral. Heavens to Betsy. Yes. Acids stop at 6.9.
9.
And then 9999999. And neutral starts at 7. And then yes, bases start at 7.1. So I'm not gonna take off if you put acids are 0 to 7 and a base is 7 to 14. I'm not gonna take off, guys. You get the gist of it. Okay, you're fine. All right. So can hydrophilic be a solvent? Yes, like hydrophilic things like alcohol. Alcohol. Why is she laughing at me? Alcohol as an ethyl alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, the stuff that your mom puts on the wounds that burns, the stuff we use. Shut up. The stuff that we used in our class. Okay. Alcohol has a charge. Alcohol is actually just OH negative. It's a hydroxyl. It's a hydroxide. So alcohol, it has a charge. It's hydrophilic as well. Water will mix in with it just fine. So things that are hydrophilic can be solvents. Things that are hydrophobic can be solvents. Okay. Anything can be a solvent if it's dissolving something just like it. So polar can dissolve polar. Non-polar can dissolve non-polar.
That's on my Quizlet.
There you go. Okay. Are there going to be base and acid identification without pH? Okay. First of all, it's base as in BASE. I just want to correct you on that. Not base as in a fish.
Oh, bad.
Okay. Thank you, Shriman, for correcting it. I'm not sure what you mean. Like, are there going to be base and acid identification without pH? Oh, you mean like, I'll ask you like, what's the human blood's pH? Is it an acid or base? Or what's bleach and stuff like that? No. I will give you a pH chart to read. Okay. Knowing things off the top of your mind is not something I expect you to be able to do at this level. Y'all are just now kind of getting used to this idea of acids and bases around you. So no, don't worry about that.
Am I an acid or a base?
Gracie just asked if she's an acid or a base. I have many things running through my head right now.
I love how you repeat.
I would say your base because when you were a baby, I dropped the base. Grace is alto. Shriman said. Okay. Do we have to know examples of what an acid and base is? Okay. Jessica's like, what? I didn't really drop her, but I did like drop kick her.
Explains a lot.
She was a baby that just started walking, and I had a thing laundry in front of me and I didn't see that she followed me. So when I turned around with the laundry basket, I like kicked up my leg and she was right there and she like went flying and hit her head on the tile. She was like 1.5.
That explains so much.
Okay. Danny, do we need to know examples of when acid and bases? I'm not sure what you mean. Like kind of like Shrimon said, you don't have to have bleach memorized as a base. No. I will give you a chart that has examples with their pHs next to them. And then you need to be able to like decipher things and answer questions about them. But you don't have to have examples memorized. Okay. So base is alkaline. Yes, Nico. So is there another term for acid? I choked on my water. I'm laughing. Shrimon said, no wonder she sits weird. That does kind of explain it, right? Oh, does it explain that she also fell out of her crib once when a babysitter was watching her?
Wait, actually?
Legit did, and I just showed up. Oh, that's a whole other story. It was one of those weird situations where I had this weird feeling that I needed to leave class early. Like I was still in college when I had her. And I get there and the babysitter was holding you because you were crying because she did like 5 minutes before that or so. Gracie like lifted herself up on the crib and flipped herself out of the crib and like hit her head.
I was a gymnastics baby.
Yeah. As far as, is there another term for acid? I can't think of any other term. Well, there's other terms, but that's nothing you have to know. That's chemistry-based terms. Like, don't even worry about it. Nah. No other term you need to worry about. Okay. Anything else? We can go on and on for stories about Gracie. She didn't bake me cookies like she said she was.
You didn't get me the stuff to bake the cookies.
Whatever. Are we going to have to fill out a chart like the one on the review? No. That's practice stuff. Like if you can fill out a chart like that from like memory without having to look at notes, then you're on like that's good. It just means that you know the material. Could you talk a bit more on organic compounds and inorganic? All right, just the word itself. Organic refers to something that has carbon. You are considered an organic being because you're made up of carbon. Okay, so let me just kind of draw this. Okay, this is a pentagon. It's gorgeous, I know. This pentagon is a carbohydrate, but if I were to look at it, it's actually just carbons. So a carbohydrate is organic, right? Because it has carbon in it. Now, if I said this guy, HCl, that's hydrochloric acid. There's no carbon in hydrochloric acid. It is inorganic. So these are terms that we help organize chemicals. Organic, inorganic. Carbon, no carbon. Okay. Yes, amphipathic. Thank you, Shrimon. I totally forgot.
What?
And we'll revisit that word later when we go to cells as well.
Wait, what word?
Amphipathic, again, prefix, suffix, people. Amphi means both. Okay. Pathic is portion or part of. So amphipathic refers to this guy, the phospholipid. It is amphipathic. It has both parts. It has a part that's polar and it has a part that's nonpolar. Not very many molecules in our world are amphipathic like this, right? So phospholipid is really unique, the fact that it does this, polar and nonpolar. Okay. Shrimon's got the questions. Okay. No. Let go. Let's show them. No. She's playing some kind of farming game.
No, that was an ad.
Don't even come ask me any questions tomorrow. So when your water evaporates, So when water evaporates, what happens to the hydrogen bond in surface tension? So the reason water is able to evaporate is because the temperature itself was able to rise just enough to break that hydrogen bond, because hydrogen bonds are weak. Okay, they really are. So as soon as water is evaporated and it's changed phase, hydrogen bonding hydrogen bonding and surface tension only exist up to a certain extent within the liquid phase. They don't exist in the gaseous phase whenever they go up, whenever they evaporate. So that bond and that surface tension is broken and is literally evaporated. It's not there anymore. Exposed, he said.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted tomorrow, like, teach it to you.
Okay, is there a monomer for lipids? No, not a true monomer. There are things that build it. Fatty acid and glycerols. But since it's not a real polymer, it doesn't have a real monomer. But yes, things build up lipids. The things that build up lipids are the chains, these little fatty acids. And then this other thing, I don't need you to worry about this, but some of y'all want to see it. Fatty acids or this guy. A fatty acid, and this guy, it's called glycerol. It's 3 carbons with hydroxides, which in this form are hydroxyls. And so these 2 parts help build a lipid. And so since it's 2 things, we can't call them monomers. That's why we'll use the term macromolecule. How important are anions and cations? As in you knowing them? Yeah. As in our world? Yeah. Yes. They be important. Yeah. I'm not sure what else he's asking. How important are anions and cations?
They're very
They're
important.
very you need to know which one's which. The fact that anions are negative and cations are positive. And for the test, yes, you need to know which one's which. Plussy cat, negative Annie.
You didn't break your pen.
Nope, and it's not mine. Wait, it is mine. This isn't Daddy's.
Wait, keep writing.
I don't know. It's his work journal. You can't look at it.
Why?
Yes, Plussy cat. All right, anything else? I'll be there in the morning, but not at 7 because I have to run to the grocery store and get some crap. So I won't be there right at 7. I'll be there at like 7:30, 7:45. But you can come in then, and then I'll be there lunch. So monosaccharides are pretty much monomer. They are the monomer. That's why it has mono in the word. Monosaccharides are the monomer that build up polysaccharides, known as carbohydrates. Who be texting me? So what would Burke asked, so what would a dog ion be?
Wait.
If it's a plussy cat, what's a dog ion? Oh, that's funny. All right, good deal. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Is there an easier way to remember how to spell monosaccharide? I don't count off for spelling. If y'all can get within reason. Obviously, if you're trying to spell monosaccharide and you spelled beaker, we're going to have a problem, you know? But if y'all spelled monosaccharide and left out a C or moved the H somewhere or something, I'm fine. I know what you're saying, right? Just memorizing the words is enough. Having to know how to spell every single one, that's a little bit torturous at your age. So just within reason, spell it, okay? Sunbees? What's Shremon saying? Is the text mostly multiple choice test? No. Your tests are always a combination of a little bit of everything. You have some multiple choice. You'll have some like completion or short answer. You may have some matching. It's a little bit of everything. Not always multiple choice. Completion, short answer, always make their way on there. Matching, not always. True and false, not always. Oh, he said sunbits. What's a sunbit?
I don't know. Sounds like a sunflower.
Polysaccharide is a what again? So a polysaccharide is just many monosaccharides built together. And your polysaccharide a variety of things. It can be starch inside plants. It can be your glycogen inside your liver. A polysaccharide is the cellulose that builds up a cell wall. Those are that saying the general term polysaccharide means a carb built of many things, but there are many versions of polysaccharides in our world. Starch, cellulose, chitin, glycogen, peptidoglycan. Gracie is straight up snoozing.
I'm not.
Yeah, she's not.
I'm just chilling here.
She's chilling.
It's cold. They keep their room so cold.
All right. Anything else, guys? If not, I'm going to post this on Classroom. So if you need to go back and look at it or anything, you can. Especially if you joined late or anything, or for the like 30 people that didn't get on here at all.
I got on.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good? Going once? Going twice? Yeet. So like 7:38-ish tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Between 7:30 and 8, I should be back because I have to run over to the grocery store. And that's, you know, the one in Kroger. They're in Latana. Okay, Gracie. All right. Bye, guys. Good job.